Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Tech Talk, a podcast where Amit and I talk about all things tech. We don't just talk about tech, we also talk about its implication on our society and everywhere else. So today we're going to talk about a topic which is more fintech related topic, and it's an interesting one. It's peer-to-peer payments. And within our audience, if you guys are into fintech, you're going to really enjoy this conversation because it's to do with payments when it's sort of done through peer-to-peer systems. And I actually have very little understanding of it, and I'm actually looking to understand and learn a lot more from Amit today. Thank you, Amit, for coming up with this topic. Let's talk about P2P payments.
First thing I wanted to correct you about the topic is that it's not peer-to-peer networks. We're just using the regular networks. It's just how it's designed. The reason it's called peer-to-peer is because it's person to person. So it's something
Okay.
similar to, say, you download a file using BitTorrent protocol on which we've already spoken about. So a file is split across 1,000 pieces, and then the person who's trying to seed the file has the complete file. So it's similar to BitTorrent protocol where file is split into multiple pieces, and then the person who has all the pieces is a seeder, and the person who doesn't have all the pieces is a leecher, or you can say a peer. And what happens is that when someone else downloads, they become a seeder. So now two people have the same file and they have all the pieces and they can now give it to someone else. So, but here the whole thing is just being managed by the network protocol, and there is no third party involved in any way. Okay, so that's why it's called peer to peer. And then there is peer to peer lending. So peer-to-peer lending means that there is a middle agent where they collect money from people and they distribute that money to other people. So it's like bank, but it's different in a way. You're not opening an account, you're just depositing money with the guarantee that you'll get some better rate of interest compared to a normal savings account, and then using that money, the company that gives it to someone else. So it's peer-to-peer lending. And peer-to-peer payments means that if I want to send you money, but I don't have your bank account, how do I send money? And that's what it is all about. So how to send money to Rinat Malik without knowing his account number?
Right. Okay. So that's quite interesting in two different ways. So you mentioned peer-to-peer lending, and it sounds like that's a financial product, and peer-to-peer payments is a like a process through which a payment or a transaction is sort of carried out. So these are two different things. And we're going to talk about peer-to-peer payments and not peer-to-peer lending, because lending, that's a financial product and not necessarily related to a technological sort of a sort of technical solution. But the transaction, which is done peer to peer, that's the peer to peer payment system, and that's what we're going to talk about. And it's a good thing to sort of understand the definition of these two, so we can understand what we're talking about. So thanks for actually pointing that out. So yeah, peer-to-peer payments. As a consumer, I think a lot of our audience have already experienced peer-to-peer payments, as we were talking earlier, and as you mentioned, PayPal, and there are a few other sort of names or organizations or sort of solutions that consumers would know about, which utilizes this peer-to-peer payments technology. So tell us more about that.
So basically, peer-to-peer works in a way that you don't need a bank account number. So normally a bank account has two parts. One is the account number and the other is the branch number. Most of the banks will have a branch, and they'll have a branch code or a unique identifier for that branch, and then an account associated for your savings account or current account in that branch. So you need these two details. Then you also need the bank details. In the UK, we have something called as a sort code and a account number. The sort code will identify the bank and the branch, and the account number will identify whose account it is. Okay, so if you give these two details, then whenever you're trying to make a payment, it knows which bank to transfer, which branch to transfer, and which account to transfer. Now I need all these details. So normally if I add you in my bank account, I'll need your name, I'll need your account number, I'll need your sort code in the UK. So I need three things, and that's a very painful process. So where peer-to-peer payment now comes is that I don't need all these details. I just need maybe your email address, or I just need your phone number, and then we can just transfer money to each other. So if people, those of who are living in the UK, they must have seen it in Revolut or Monzo or Starling. So these are online bank accounts, online only bank accounts, so they don't have a physical branch. So their sort code is always the same. They don't have multiple sort codes. Okay. So now if you're on Starling and someone else is on Starling, you can just transfer, you can just find their name and transfer money. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty
And
cool.
same thing in Monzo and same thing in Revolut. Just try to search for the name and you will get a handle like a Twitter handle or an Instagram handle or a YouTube handle now. So you'll get a handle say at amit.sarkar or at rinat.malik, whatever. And you can then confirm that, okay, this handle belongs to the person that you want to send money, and just click on it and send money. So you don't need the name, you don't need the account number, you don't need the sort code. So that's peer-to-peer payments.
Right. Okay. So from a consumer perspective, or from a like a newbie perspective, if you like. So any if we zoom out a little bit, any transaction is a form of communication. And whenever you're communicating with someone, or whenever you're making any transaction, you need an address where it needs to go. Before, the address used to be made up of account number, sort code, and the name of the person receiving it. Now, with the advent of technology, we can shorten that address to a much more manageable, meaningful address, which is basically the person's email address, because the internet has kind of evolved in a way that email address is always a string of unique characters. I mean, if you think about it, it's actually quite fascinating, because email, you can't like you can open email accounts in Outlook, Yahoo, Gmail, wherever, but you can never have a duplicate email address for two people can't have the same email address in any way, because Gmail doesn't allow you, none of the providers allow you to. And then if you take the provider's name into account of the whole email address, then there you go, that's like a full unique piece of string that is only attached to you. And obviously, because of all the the high security of each of these the email providers, now it's a secured sort of piece of string that only you can access. So that is a very ideal thing to use as banking transactions, because it's difficult for anyone else to get hold of it.
But you also forget that mobile numbers are also unique.
Ah,
So
yes.
mobile numbers are also, and actually mobile numbers are linked to your physical device. So you have a physical device, that physical device is on you. Email addresses, it's not on you. Okay. So mobile numbers are actually still more secure and still more unique because you're holding something in your hands and you're going around with it all the time. And it can work without the internet as well. So you just need a
Yes.
mobile data connection. So that's it.
That the added benefit of mobile numbers is you don't even have to use smartphones. With email addresses, you need to have a connection to the internet and have an interface within your phone to access the email address or in one way or another. So that needs to be a smartphone. But with just mobile numbers, you could just communicate with the bank through text messages. So you don't even need internet connection or a smartphone, which is more accessible to many people around the world in many different countries, where developing countries where internet is not easily accessible. They can still make use of or utilize this method of communication.
So that's what happened in India. So using something called as Paytm. But India, Let's rewind back a bit. I mean, you can transfer money using mobile numbers, but you still need an application to do that for you. And for that application, you still need internet. So more or less, you'll still need some kind of a internet service, either through your mobile data connection or through your Wi-Fi connection, but you'll still need the internet connection. So sometimes what happens is you download an app and the app will ask you to register an account in it. It could be a banking app as well. Some of the banks like Revolut, Starling, and say Monzo, they allow this feature. So once you download the app, you open an account, you register for a handle, and you get your bank account number and sort code. Then you can try to search through your contacts, through your mobile phone contacts, who is there on the Monzo network already. So again, bear in mind, we are trying to now send money when we are trying to send money in Starling only to people who are on Starling, or in Monzo only to people who are on Monzo. So if I want to send now money from my Starling account to someone, say Rinat Malik, who has an account in say Santander, I have an account in HSBC, how do I do that? So that's where we can now link, instead of the handles, we can ask, okay, mobile numbers. Because normally, whenever you go for a banking application, they'll send you an SMS and an email for security code. But most of the time, it's a mobile number. Um, so if the mobile number is already linked to a bank account, and say Santander, you're on Santander, I'm on HSBC, and Santander also has your mobile number, then the two mobile numbers are linked to a unique bank account and they are now connected. So now I should be able to transfer money just using a mobile number. So that is something called as PayM. So that's started, but it's now closed because there are some new payment methods that have come up. But this was the way where you could just use the mobile number and then transfer money. So this was again a very modern way of transferring money to someone's account, even though they are on two separate bank account networks.
That is a good, that is, one of the sort of the like ways technology has made our lives easier, because you don't have to remember. And even a lot of the times we need to make transaction to people who we don't know very closely, outside of friends and family. And maybe you'll just do that one transaction and then you won't need any more of that anymore. For example, if you're selling your something secondhand, your phone or whatever, so you'll meet this person maybe online, who from maybe Facebook Marketplace, and then you want to make that transaction. The transaction needs to be safe and secure, but at the same time you don't want to be having to face a lot of hassle in terms of making the transaction. Cash is not always the most secure way of doing things. So this is actually a really good enabler in terms of how we want to live our lives. And this is one of the small ways how technology is making our lives easier.
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at it, I mean, these payments, they help to bypass this. I mean, not say bypass, but make it convenient, just because you don't have to remember a lot of stuff and you don't have to ask a lot of stuff. So mobile numbers, normally I'll have your mobile number, even though if I don't have your email number, email ID, I'll still have your mobile number because I need to make a call to you. So by default, everyone has a mobile number because we talk to each other. We use WhatsApp, so we'll have the mobile number as well. So that's already a given. So in India, during COVID, and people wanted to make contactless payments, and also during demonetization, where they suddenly removed the currency. I forgot the denomination. So they suddenly removed the specific denomination of currencies out of circulation, and they said it's no longer a legal tender, and people have to now transfer money from one account to another. And how do you make payments to, say, if you don't have cash, how do you make payments? I mean, cash in hand, you still have money in your account, or you can deposit money in your account. So that's when Paytm came, and it became very popular. So Paytm revolutionized because you have a Paytm account and someone else has a Paytm account, and they can transfer money to each other. It's like PayPal. So PayPal works in a similar way. I have an email address. A business has an email address. So suppose I want to send money to Rinat. I can use his email address and then I can just send him poke him money on PayPal. Okay. And there is a business, it has provided me certain services. Say I bought something on eBay and now it's asked me to make a payment through PayPal. So it'll give me an email address. Using that email address, I'll put it in PayPal. I'll say I'm making a payment to a business and then I just make the payment. So I don't need to know the bank account number. I don't even need to know which country the account is sitting. So now it's another level. So now you can do cross border payments just by knowing the email address. So that's how PayPal became so popular and is still very popular because we.
Yeah, that's one of the things I actually wanted to ask. That, when you were talking about peer-to-peer payments, first you talked about within the same bank and then interbank transaction, but then what about inter-country transaction? And that's another next level of enabling or making lives easier for the consumer. And how does that work? Because there must be some sort of foreign currency exchange that needs to happen when these transactions are being made. Are they being charged an exchange rate or like a currency conversion fee like the banks do, or is it sort of managed as part of the transaction?
So I think PayPal charges money for transaction. I think when you withdraw money, because it's there in your PayPal account, and then you have to withdraw money to your bank account. So I think that's when it charges. Plus, you can accept payment in different currencies, but your PayPal account is linked to a country. So like I have a PayPal account in India and I have a PayPal account in UK. Those accounts are different. Their email addresses are different and the accounts linked to it are different. I cannot link a UK account to my PayPal India account. I just can't. That's how PayPal's jurisdiction is. But I can still transfer money to my bank account using this PayPal method. And I mean, it's not peer to peer, but I use TransferWise to send payments, cross-border payments to India. So how I do it is that I have a TransferWise account and I have added my Indian account number and then I just transfer money to it. So instead of transfer money to my account directly, I transfer to a UK account of TransferWise. So I transfer money to TransferWise in the UK, and TransferWise then transfers money after receiving it to my Indian account. I don't know how they do it, but sometimes they do it instantly. I think they're using some kind of a blockchain protocol or some protocol where you give money to a UK account and once they confirm, they transfer money. Or they maintain cash at both countries. So based on how many pounds or Indian currencies I'm buying, they will transfer the money.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. I mean, I also use TransferWise, and it's really good service. You
It's a
have
good
the mobile
service.
app.
Yeah.
TransferWise, I think they now renamed themselves to Wise, just
Yes.
Wise. But yeah, I'm actually quite happy with their service, and I don't know whether they maintain both currencies because they transfer everywhere in all of the countries in the world, and it would be quite difficult to do that. And I don't know if it's there is the in terms of currency exchange, there are legal requirements in different countries as well, so they might
Exactly.
have to do the transaction every time you make a transaction. That might be a legal requirement anyway. I don't know how the background of it works, but it actually is very, very convenient because I just do it over with my phone, and I do the transaction from my bank account to TransferWise within the Wise app. And then it's very quick as well. I mean, all the other ways I've used, Western Union or, going to a shop and then using Western Union, various other ways. This was actually a very quick way to do and convenient. I can do it in at the comfort of my home and in a mobile app, and it's very quick. And the fees are also quite reasonable as far as I know. I mean, um, obviously we're not sponsored by Wise or TransferWise, but just because I think you're also happy with it, I'm also happy with it, we could just put a link in our description if anyone is interested. We'll put both of our sort of recommendation or referral link in the description so you guys can sort of sign up using our link. But yeah, it is a quite a good app, or not just an app, it's a company that we both like and recommend.
Definitely, and I think you're right. I mean, this is my assumption because I see that the payments happen instantaneously, and cross-border payments across two different bank accounts can't happen instantaneously, or else I have not seen it, or they have to happen between the same banks but different. So like HSBC UK and HSBC India, maybe then you can have instant transactions. But if you don't have the same banks, how do you have instant transactions? So there has to be a mechanism where they are maybe monitoring the exchange rate and then deciding, okay, this is the exchange rate at which we'll transact and we'll pay the certain fees and we'll charge the customer this much. So if say I want to transfer 200 pounds, I'll be charged about one pound to 1.5 pound. So that's I mean it's not a lot, but if you convert that to an Indian rupee, that's still a big amount for a very small transaction, say 20,000 rupees. So 20,000 rupees of transaction, I pay about 1,000 to 2,000 200 rupees in fees. So that's about what 10%, not 10%, but some 1%,
Even
1%.
less, actually. I
One
think
less
it's
than
a lot
1%,
less.
yeah, around
Yeah.
1%. So let's say it's 1%.
Yeah.
So I pay about 1% of fees. But because it's convenient, because I don't have to open multiple bank accounts, I don't have to maintain different accounts, I don't have to open a new account in UK or new account in India. It makes life so easy, and I think that convenience is what gives this peer-to payments such importance. So a lot of companies now, so like in India, if you have Google Pay and someone else has Google Pay, you can transfer money using Google Pay to someone else's account just using their wallet. And the same thing is with Apple Pay. So if you, I think in US you do that for Google Pay, you can't do it in UK, but you can do it in India. So that's how they're making transactions and lives easier for everyone, because most of the people in India are having an Android phone, and it's very cheap to have an Android phone. Um, Most of the people now in the villages, they have smartphones have become very cheap, and it's a perfect way to manage payments, even though if you have different bank accounts, so maintaining all the different account numbers, it becomes such a hassle, and for a population like India, it's a huge thing. So if you have such a convenient way to make a payment, then it just makes life easier. And there are different other things in India like UPI and Paytm and other things, but I think I just wanted to focus on this aspect of payments, especially in UK and US. Now, another thing to note about these peer-to-pay payments is that how secure is it? So it's like an end-to-end encryption. So if you know the person's handle, or if you know the person's mobile number and email address, and you're 100% sure that that's the right thing, then you should be able to transact without any issues. I mean, you can still transact, but then there are cases of fraud, like you accidentally mistype the number and then it goes to someone else. And if someone else is not honest, then they can keep
Yeah.
the money. So that's one way to do it. The other way is like I send you a scam link. So you know my mobile number, but that mobile number has now been stolen, and someone sends me a link to transfer some money using that mobile number, and I can trust that link because I have stored it as someone. I don't know it's stolen, and in that time I've clicked on the link, I've made a payment. So that's how you get scammed. So there are different ways you can get into all this. So you have to be very, very careful as to whom you're making payments. Even though it's just a mobile number, it's just an email address, you have to be 100% sure and confirm multiple times that it's the same number and email address. Once you've confirmed and saved it, then every time you make a payment, it's easy. So, so yeah. So I think these are some of the things that you need to make sure that it's safe. Otherwise, it makes life so easy. It's very fast. So what else do you want?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were saying, like, your international transaction happens instantaneously. That doesn't actually surprise me to think about it, because nowadays everything is happening inside the computer. There is no physical transfer
Yeah,
happening. So even if it's different banks, and if it's going through different, not just banks, different financial organizations, and maybe four or five, but they could all have automated their part of the process, and linked or integrated with each other through APIs or any other method. So as a result, everyone can do their part quite in an automated way, electronically, online, and that way it would be instantaneous because it would just, even if there are 5 steps or 5 financial organizations doing different approvals, they could all do it straight away. And let me tell you, this is not the case in all the other countries. I mean, I think with India there is, better integration, but when I send money to Bangladesh, it actually takes 1 or 2 days. Sometimes it's the same day, which really impressed me. I was like, oh wow, within like 6 hours or 8 hours, it's gone through. But a lot of the times it's at least 24 hours. And if there is any part of the day is the weekend, in UK the weekend is different than the weekend in Bangladesh. So if any of those days falls in any of the weekends, then obviously that's like a good 48 hours. So that integration isn't available in all the countries, I imagine, around the world as well. But no, absolutely, it is a very good piece of technology that is really helpful to a lot of users, whether you're doing inter-country transaction or within the same bank, whatever it is sort of making. Because I know I had accounts in Canada and they use email addresses to sort of transfer money. Nowadays, they don't even use the usual way of account number and branch number. They just completely like forgotten about it. That's like a sending fax kind of old technology. It's just always send money, give me your email address. That's just the norm over there. And in UK, I think mobile number is also a way to pay someone with a UK bank account. So yeah, lives are becoming easier. If payments or transaction is easier, that enables a lot of businesses, small businesses can flourish. And a lot of the times cash flow is a big problem for small businesses. But the more instantaneous all of these things happen, the better it is for small businesses, and that also helps the economic of the country. Because as we all know, small businesses are the backbone of any country's economy. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of big, massive chain reaction benefits of these kind of technologies that we don't usually think about, but they are quite powerful in these ways. And as
Definitely.
with any
Go ahead.
as as with any new technology, as you mentioned, there is always the need for being secure and cautious. There are, whenever there's new technology, there are newer ways to manipulate it and scam the consumers in that way. That's why we want to make you guys aware, our audiences, to how to sort of navigate within these new technologies. And hopefully you guys had some sort of sort of a bit more light on this topic, so you guys can navigate better when using it.
Definitely, and I think I mean it's making life easy, convenient, especially in this age where technology is now present everywhere. And I think that's the future. In the future, you'll just have maybe phone number and then you'll have an account with it. It doesn't matter what the account number is, and you don't even bother about it. And I think one of the reasons India has such a better integration for Wise is because of the high volume transactions, because of the population of the country and the population of the people outside India who are actually transferring money to back to India, which is called remittance. Then that transaction volume is quite high. So that's why there is a more demand for transferring UK pounds to Indian rupee, or US dollars to Indian rupee, or Canadian dollars to Indian rupee. So because of the just the high volume of transactions, and I think that's what drives payment. And one of the things that you said, which I 100% agree, is these things enable businesses to thrive and flourish, because you remove all the hassle of paperwork, opening accounts, this, that. You can accept payment instantaneously. So you can provide better services, you can grow your business, and everyone is happy because it's so convenient for everyone. I'm not looking for cash. I can just transfer money using my mobile phone. In the UK, we have contactless payments. And that contactless payment is made life so much easy. I don't even carry my wallet anymore. I can use the contactless card from my mobile phone to tap into and use the transport network. So I bus, train, they're all accepted. Within London, of course, outside London it's different. So within London, I can use the transport network. I can then pay at a coffee shop. I can go to a restaurant and then pay the bill there. If I get a blood test done and I want to pay, I can use that money. I can use my card. Then if I want to transfer, so suppose I have a loyalty card, so the loyalty cards are also there as a QR code in my Google account wallet. So I can then scan the QR code. So I don't need to so if I have like loyalty cards from multiple sources, they're all in one single account, so I don't even need those cards anymore. So I mean, there are just so many ways your lives are becoming so easy because now you have a digital wallet. Maybe I think we should talk about digital wallet in our next talk.
Yes, absolutely. That's another fascinating topic, and I'm sure our audience would be quite interested to know about how that side of technology works. But no, I mean, absolutely, we'll let's decide to talk about that in our future topics. But yeah, the peer-to-peer network, peer-to-peer payment system, that is also. Hopefully, audience have enjoyed this conversation. We looked at both the technical side, but also the societal sort of implications of how it affects the consumers and how to sort of be cautious of potential scams and be aware of how the technology works and how to be how to navigate around it. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I really have learned a lot. Thank you, Amit, for going through it all. And hope you guys tune in again next week in our next episode. And yeah, until then, see you next time.
See you all next time. Thank you so much. Bye.